Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Nitai go Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Nitai go Hare Ba, Nitai go Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, go Hare Ba. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya
Dharam Vishnu Padparamansa Parivajaki Chora Dustatara Sutasi Siman is Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Chora Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Saimakanda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Nitai Gaur Premanande. Yesterday, we spoke about, anyone remember that far back? Who remembers what we spoke about yesterday? What was the kata? What was the topic? Yes?
When Kaṁsa died, and we were talking about when Krishna went to Mathura.
Yes. What do you remember, Gopal?
Krishna breaks the bow.
Yes.
And then he kills the elephant.
Yes.
And he fights.
Gopal, did you take your naughtiness pills this morning? Huh?
No. I don't take pills.
You don't need pills. You feel happy this morning?
Yeah.
How much? This much or this much? Oh, so nice. Gram, how happy do you feel? Wow. What's your name? Krishna. How happy do you feel? Wow.
This one.
There's that competition going on. Okay. Find 2 or 3 people to speak about, and speak about what you remember about yesterday's class, the things that struck you the most significant. Please begin right now. We don't have much time to do this. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharade Nivase Shasanyavadi Praskati Desitarade. Om Agiratiminandasya Janajana Salakaya Sakshus Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Vidati Sa Padantika Vansakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhai Vicha Prasitilam Kabinevyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. So yesterday, of course, we heard about the great wrestling match and how leading up to that, after Krishna entered the wrestling arena, Chanura approached Krishna and he challenged him to fight. And Krishna said, "We're just little boys. We wrestle with our friends. It's not proper that we wrestle with great, powerful wrestlers like you." And Chanura replied, "You are not little boys. You lifted Govardhan hill. You killed so many demons in Vrindavan. And you broke the bow, Lord Shiva's bow. And you killed the elephant easily, Kuvalayapida. You are not little boys. And Krishna said, actually, I'll tell you what happened. Those demons who Kaṁsa had sent, those demons who came, they were killed because of their envy of me. That was their reaction. And there was a yajna performed. And because of that yajna, to curb Indra's pride, Govardhan lifted himself into the air. And the bow, it was very old, and it had termites. And as they were passing it back and forth, the guy, and I touched it, and it just broke. What could I do? And not only that, the elephant, he was attacking me, and he was trying to kill me, and his tusks went deep in the ground. And when he tried to get them out, he was in so much pain he died. I just happened to be there. And then the keeper of the elephant, when the elephant died, he rolled over on top of him. And people didn't understand what was going on, and they thought I had something to do with these things. So, and Sonora didn't believe him. And he said, now we will fight, we will fight. So then when Krishna grabbed Sonora during the fight, even though Krishna wasn't touching Kaṁsa, Kaṁsa became breathless. Come and sit down. Where would you like to sit? You're okay there? Okay. Kaṁsa was actually terrified, even though he was so proud, confronted with he who was going to be his death. He became terrified. And then everyone, seeing how huge the wrestlers were and how... Where's Krishna? Oh, no, okay. We'll ask you to stand up later, okay? And seeing how tiny and delicate Krishna was, everyone began to criticize Kaṁsa. Even the wrestlers began to criticize Kaṁsa. In the beginning of the wrestling match, they said, these boys, they're strong. And Kaṁsa says, they don't know anything about wrestling, and we're the most expert wrestlers, and why are we fighting with them? Kaṁsa has arranged this. And then by the end of the match, they were saying, these boys are the most expert of wrestlers. Kaṁsa is such a coward that he makes us fight them while he sits in the grandstand. So everyone was criticizing Kaṁsa. And then, as the fight went on, Nanda, Vasudeva, and Devaki, and all the saintly Brahmins who were there, all the saints who were there, they were so angry that Kaṁsa had arranged this. And they were staring at Kaṁsa with sharp, crooked eyes, so angry at him. And because of those stares, Srila Jiva Goswami said, it was clear, because of the anger that these great souls had towards Kaṁsa, it was clear that Kaṁsa wasn't long for this world. So, as they were wrestling, Krishna was smiling the whole time, practically speaking. But Balaram's eyes were what color? Reddish. He was carrying Krishna's anger. And then the ladies in the wrestling arena began to complain. And we heard that this is unfair. And then they looked at Krishna's beauty. They looked at Krishna's beauty, and they thought of the fortune of the residents of Vrindavan, especially the gopis, who were completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Their minds, their consciousness, their hearts were fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. And these ladies who were in the arena, and Kaṁsa was hearing everything that they were saying. They were thinking, this Braj is so kind to Krishna. But look what kind of reception that we give Krishna. So when Krishna heard this, as we all remember, then he decided to end the fight and kill. And today is the day that King Kaṁsa will die. How many of you feel really unhappy to hear that? Ahimso paramo dharma. How many of you feel happy to know that Kaṁsa is going to die? He was terrible. He was so cruel. Krishna only stole butter, but Kaṁsa stole the whole kingdom. So Krishna decided, he made up his mind to kill the opponents, his opponents, that means Chanura. And because Krishna, being Yogeshwara, in the verse that describes him as Yogeshwara, he could hear exactly what the ladies were saying. So out of affection, this is text 18, out of affection for the two lords, their parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, became overwhelmed with sorrow when they heard the women's fearful statements. They grieved. They didn't know their son's great strength, but actually Vasudeva and Devaki, they saw Krishna when he had taken his birth. He took his birth in a forearm form as Vasudeva Krishna in Mathura. So they actually knew Krishna's strength. But at this particular time, the parental affection, their affection for their sons, overwhelmed their knowledge of Krishna's power. So they actually forgot Krishna's strength due to their love for Krishna. So all this, our acharyas say, this great wrestling fight was arranged by Krishna's Leela Shakti, because Krishna, he does like to wrestle. He does like to play. And Krishna is the most playful. And also, this was his way, because when Krishna does something, he accomplishes more than one thing with one action. So by fighting with the wrestlers, by killing the snake, by killing the elephant, Kuvalayapita, by breaking the bow, he was sending a message to Kaṁsa. So they began, the wrestlers continued the great wrestling match, and they were using all the greatest skills. And then Krishna began to strike Chanura very hard. Krishna has unlimited strength, so how much of his unlimited strength is required to cause this powerful wrestler to die? It's not actually very much. And Chanura felt the blows of Krishna breaking every part of his body, because Krishna was just playing before. And he felt the blows of Krishna now were breaking his parts of the body. And he was becoming more and more in pain. And he was becoming more and more fatigued, tired. His energy was diminishing. So he stepped back to rest for a moment. And then he took his hands like this. Now, who should we demonstrate this on? Not on Krishna. Who? That's Shyamsundar. I can't do it. But anyway, he hit Krishna like this with all of his strength, calling his last strength. He hit Krishna right in the chest. And Sukadeva Goswami compares this hitting to an elephant being struck by a flower garland. It didn't affect him at all. He was so angry because he couldn't acknowledge the fact that he was being defeated in the wrestling match by this little boy. How old are you?
Turning 11.
Turning 11. So how old are you?
10.
Okay. When's your birthday?
Christmas. 25th of December.
How do you know?
Because my parents told me.
Okay, you're a good boy. I'm intelligent too. So, do you remember when you were born?
No.
What's your earliest memory?
Staying in the hospital.
In the hospital. How old were you then?
Well, a few days.
A few days. You remember that? Wait, not really. I'm serious. When's your earliest memory?
When I was in the hospital next to my mom.
Okay. So you were just a few days old.
Maybe 1 or 2 days.
Okay. Krishna's blessed you with a good memory, obviously. Now, how big was your body then? And stand up and show everyone how big your body was then.
Like that big.
Okay. And how big is your body now? I'd say about this big, yeah? Okay. So you've changed your body, yes? But are you the same person?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now you can sit down. We just wanted to have a little philosophy class in the middle of this exciting story. So then Krishna, little Krishna, we have to, are you okay with this? Stand, okay, one more time. Okay, Krishna. Now, Krishna, you stand next to him, please. And as I describe what Krishna did to Chanura, you have to do it. Okay? Krishna picked up Chanura over his head. No? He's laughing.
What? You can't pick me up.
And then whirled him, okay, now you can sit down. And whirled him around 100 times. And then threw him on the ground. And then he went over to Chanura and shook him. And then announced, Chanura is dead. And at the same time, Balaram understood that the wrestling match was now over, and he struck Chanura, Mastika, the verse says with his fist, but some acharyas say with the palm of his hand, like this, like that. And then the demon trembled in great pain, and he fell lifeless to the ground like a tree that had been knocked over by a heavy wind. And it describes Chanura fell in a different way. He sort of just like crumbled and fell after it was over. But Mastika, after getting hit by Balaram, fell like that. And as he was falling, he was saying terrible words, 4-letter words, like boss, B-O-S-S. That's a joke. No one's laughing. They're afraid their boss may be hearing them. Okay, he said terrible words, but as he was dying, he was saying these terrible words. And then the wrestlers, 3 other wrestlers, Kuta, Sala, Tosala, immediately attacked. Because, why did they attack? Because Kaṁsa, who was their master and who they feared, had ordered them you fight with Krishna and Balaram. So they attacked, and first Kuta attacked, and Balaram with his left hand went and just killed him. And the other two, whose names were? They were afraid. But they were more afraid of Kaṁsa. So together, they attacked not Krishna, but Balaram. But somehow, Krishna, even though he was far away, and it was quite mystical what he did, he kicked him with his foot in the head, and his head fell off. You're laughing. But it was a very messy scene. And then Krishna broke the other demon wrestler in half. And then other wrestlers came because they were aligned to Kaṁsa, and Balaram just killed them very easily. And then there were some more wrestlers left, and they ran as fast as they could in the opposite direction. And everyone in the audience, everyone began to laugh at them because they were so afraid of Krishna and Balaram. They ran for their lives. So then, everyone understood. All the audience understood, because they had come there in one mood. They had come there to see the bow sacrifice, the Dana Jagya, and they had also come to see the playing, the festival of the wrestling match. Kaṁsa had a different plan, of course, but they were unaware of that plan. So they were amazed at these going on. And then, because the match was over, then do you know how to play music that resembles the sound of a joyous end of a wrestling festival? This is a great challenge. And you have to play the madanga to this, Sham. Joyous music. And the madanga is played. Haribol, and everyone was so amazed. And then, wait, stop, wait, stop. Let's be ready to start again. And then Krishna faced Kaṁsa. He turned to Kaṁsa. And he said, "You've been sending your generals, the demons, to fight me when I was in Vrindavan, and have sent them all to Swarga, to heaven. And now, just a few moments ago, I have sent your wrestlers to Swarga. And very soon, I'm going to send you to Swarga." And then, wait, sorry for doing this. And then Krishna looked at the grandstand, and he saw his cowherd boyfriends, and he called them all down. Okay, now begin again. And the cowherd boys, they all began dancing with Krishna to the music. Cowherd boys, up. Hey, cowherd boys, all began dancing. Hey, Krishna. And then, wait. And then, the cowherd boys all began wrestling with Krishna. after Krishna had defeated the huge wrestlers, the coward boys started wrestling with Krishna, and sometimes Krishna would throw them down, and sometimes they would throw Krishna down, and they were defeating Krishna. And Krishna was doing this, just completely bewildered Kaṁsa, who was watching all this. Because before Krishna said, okay, coward boys, sit down. All coward boys, sit down. Before Krishna had told Chanura Chanura said that it is an unequal fight. And Krishna said, yes, we wrestle with our coward boyfriends. That's an equal fight, because they were all unlimitedly powerful. Would you like to be a coward boy? Raise your hand if you'd like to be a coward boy amongst all the coward boys. Oh, what's your name?
Arjuna.
Arjuna. Oh, I think you're a warrior. Yes? Coward boys are the best warriors. So this was all going on. And now in this part of this story, I will play King Kaṁsa. Excuse me. Okay, let the music begin. And the coward boys have to stand up again and dance. And be happy. Stop! Stop! Kaṁsa could not tolerate. Okay, coward boy, sit down. Kaṁsa could not tolerate this victory of Krishna and the music sounding in great happiness to celebrate Krishna's victory. So using it as an excuse that he wanted to make an announcement, he clapped his hands 3 times and then stood up and said, stop all the music, I have something to say. And he said, Nanda should be put in prison for what he has done. Krishna and Balaram should be driven out of town, because he knew they couldn't be killed, but he didn't know that what was going to happen next. And Krishna was just listening to this. So he had waited. He could have killed Kaṁsa in the beginning, but he was waiting. He was waiting for Kaṁsa to speak like this against his beloved devotees. And then he said, arrest that fool Nanda, and the most evil enemy, Vasudeva, who has lied to me. He has tricked me. He has told me that he would give me all of his sons, and he has tricked me and sent his son Krishna to grow up in Gokul and Vrindavan. Vasudeva, armies, kill him now. And my father Ugrasena, who's always sided with my enemies, kill him. Kill them. I don't like playing Kaṁsa. Actually, Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, when there's a drama amongst the devotees, you shouldn't play a part, this is going to ruin all the dramas in the Melbourne temple, that is against your actual nature. Maybe there still will be some person playing Kaṁsa and Hiranyakashipu. Would you like to play Hiranyakashipu in a drama? Would you like to play Hiranyakashipu in a drama? You? Little. But anyway, Kaṁsa began speaking like this. And then when he was speaking so audaciously, so terribly, so ridiculously, he had just seen Krishna kill the wrestlers. He had seen We knew that Krishna had killed the elephant. He knew that Krishna had broken the bow. He knew that Krishna had killed so many of his servants that he had sent. But he was a demon at heart, through and through. And I will never give up. I will never surrender to Krishna. I will never surrender to Krishna. Kill him, drive him from town. And Krishna became so angry. And no one actually saw it happen. He did it so fast. But Krishna jumped onto the dais. And Kaṁsa immediately, being a warrior, he grabbed his sword, which wasn't near him at this time. He grabbed his sword and he grabbed his shield and began moving this way and that. Rishi, you can't leave now. At least wait till Kaṁsa's dead. Whose side are you on? Okay. Oh, you weren't leaving? Okay. Now I understand. So he immediately picked up his sword and shield and tried to defend himself. But Krishna was angry. And Kaṁsa's time had now come. And Krishna just grabbed him by the hair. And just by doing that, Kaṁsa lost half of his life force. And it is said by our acharyas, Krishna, it is also explained that Krishna threw him off the dais immediately. He didn't know what had happened. It was like Garuda had caught a snake, or some acharyas say it was like a hawk swooping down and capturing a rabbit. And the rabbit has no idea what's going on. And suddenly, he's lifted into the air, and his death is certain. Kaṁsa didn't know what had happened to him. And some acharyas say that it was the fragrance, simply the fragrance, not the force or the power of Krishna directly, but the fragrance, the sweet, wonderful fragrance of Krishna's body knocked Kaṁsa off the dais and to the ground. And then Krishna jumped from the dais. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says he jumped from the dais and he landed right on Kaṁsa because he wanted a soft landing. He didn't want to come down and perhaps injure himself. Krishna does everything in a wonderful way. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes how when Krishna, he felt himself as holding the weight of the universe. Of course, the universe is not different from Krishna. And with the force of the universe, he landed on top of Kaṁsa. And then Jiva Goswami explains, and Srila Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book, that he hit him and hit him and hit him. And simply from the blows of Krishna's fists, Kaṁsa lost his life. And his eyes were wide open. And even Krishna, because remember, Krishna had been taken from Mathura at the time of his birth, and Kaṁsa had sent one demon after the next, from Putana to Shakatasura to Trinavarta, one after the next to kill Krishna. So this drama had been going on for years and years and years, and Krishna was being hidden out of fear of Kaṁsa, and suddenly, so easily, just by Krishna grabbing his hair, Kaṁsa was dead. His eyes were wide open as he lied there. And the whole assembly was quiet. No one made a sound. Because one of the characteristics of the devatas, by the way, is that they don't blink their eyes as human beings. Always blink their eyes and can't stop blinking their eyes. But Kaṁsa also had stopped blinking his eyes a long time ago out of fear of Krishna. So no one in the whole assembly, seeing Kaṁsa lying on the ground with his eyes wide open, said anything, because, and I heard His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, I may have mentioned this at other times, tell this little story. There was once a Qazi who was in charge of the village, and everyone feared him. And when the Qazi's dog died, everyone went to the funeral. And then soon after that, the Qazi himself died. And then no one went to the funeral. So everyone in the whole audience was quiet because they weren't really sure that Kaṁsa was dead. And Krishna, the example Sukadev Goswami gives, like a lion dragging an elephant that he has killed, roared and dragged the dead body of Kaṁsa around the wrestling arena. And then everyone knew that Kaṁsa was dead. And immediately everyone began to cheer. Immediately everyone, and then, but enthusiastically a little bit at least. Because he was horrible, and everyone was terrified of him. And now he was dead. That wasn't very enthusiastic, by the way, because you aren't sure, perhaps, that it is true that Kaṁsa was dead. And also when Krishna grabbed him by the hair, he knocked off his golden crown that was studded, that was filled, covered with diamonds. Now, Kaṁsa, in his great fear, sa means he, meaning Kaṁsa, nityada. He was constantly unvigna, means with great anxiety, diya, focused. His mind was focused upon him, the Ishvara, on Krishna. His mind was always focused on Krishna out of great anxiety and fear. When he was piban, what does that mean? Drinking, when he was drinking, adan, eating, or vicharan, or moving or walking, or swapan, everyone knows what that means. When he was sleeping, and swasan, when he was breathing. Whatever he was doing, he was simply focused on Krishna. The darshan chakra ayudham agrata yata. He who holds the chakra, his mind was focused upon him in that form. And therefore, tad eva rupam, he achieved that rupam, that form, durva vapam, he achieved this, which is so hard to achieve. In other words, he achieved the spiritual world because of his focus on Krishna. Whatever he was doing. Now, if you remember that the ladies of Mathura, when criticizing the wrestling match, they were talking about the gopis, saying that the gopis, whatever they were doing, they were thinking about Krishna, whether they were cooking, whether they were smearing with cow dung, whether they were doing this or that, or sprinkling water. Why would they sprinkle water? If any of you are village people, Why do they sprinkle water? Yes. Yes, yes. In Vrindavan, you always see this every morning to minimize the dust as it comes up. And sometimes they would sprinkle it with fragrant water too. So they were always thinking about Krishna, but with great love. Well, Kaṁsa was thinking about Krishna with great fear and great anxiety. And yet, that thinking about Krishna, even though his mood was completely incorrect, still brought the greatest result of him achieving a spiritual form, sarupam, of eva rupam. So this, here first we'll read the verse. Drew, for the reader, please read the English translation.
Kaṁsa had always been disturbed by the thought that the Supreme Lord was to kill him. Therefore, when drinking, eating, moving about, sleeping, or simply breathing, the king had always seen the Lord before him with the disc weapon in his hand. Thus, Kaṁsa achieved the rare boon of attaining a form like the Lord's.
Sarupa Mukti he attained. So, what is to be learned from this? And it's an obvious point. How powerful and how important it is to think about Krishna, to have Krishna's form and name in our consciousness. In the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, after the first chapter of the 12th canto describes all the kings. It's actually, if you've studied the Bhagavatam, in the 9th canto it describes, there's a list Sukadeva is describing to Maharaj Parikshit all the kings that come. And then they get up to describing the advent of Krishna, because Krishna came in the dynasty of kings. Which dynasty did he come in? The Yadu dynasty, but also in the Moon dynasty, the Chandravansh, the Moon dynasty. So he came, and then so that's at the end, in the final chapter. Anyone know how many chapters there are in the 9th canto? Let's see, who's reaching for their mobile phones quickly? No, 24. So in that chapter, Maharaj Parikshit hears a little bit about Krishna, and he's so eager, and he wants to hear more, So then the 10th canto and the 11th canto is all about Krishna. And then in the 12th canto, Sukadeva Goswami resumes speaking about the descendants of the Moon dynasty, who were kings. And then he gets to Kali Yuga, and how the dynasty runs out in Kali Yuga. And then in the 2nd chapter, he describes how terrible Kali Yuga is, and all the awful qualities and suffering that goes on in Kali Yuga. And then Maharaj Parikshit asks a very interesting and important question. He says that in Kali Yuga, there's so much contamination, and he's already said, or earlier, Sukta Goswami has already said, the prime characteristic of Kali Yuga is that no one is peaceful. Everyone's mind is always disturbed in Kali Yuga. And everything in Kali Yuga becomes contaminated. Pumsam kalikvitam dosham dravya desatma sambhava. Everything in Kali Yuga, every object is contaminated. Every person, even, every place, desatma, every place, every person is contaminated in Kali Yuga. So the question that that Maharaj Parikshit asked, what is the hope in Kali Yuga? When everything is and everyone is so entangled, you can't even get out and do something that's pure, practically speaking. Because for one reason, you always have your mobile phone with you. And what disturbs the mind more than that? Except what you read on it. So in this age, and Maharaj Parikshit is asking this question because in those days the rulers, the kings, they were concerned with the people. So what is going to really help them? So he says, so he concludes that Sarvam Harati Chitto Sto, by putting the form of the Lord within your consciousness. Now everyone, just for a moment, close your eyes, and even the little ones, close your eyes and think of Radhaballabha. Think of Radhaballabha. And think of yourself going in front of Radhaballabha. And think of yourself bringing a garland to Radhaballabha. You can use all your creative abilities to make the most beautiful garland. And then bring a gift to Radhaballabha. Anything you want, you can give him. You can give him a ruby necklace with gold in between. You can give him anything you want, or you can cook the most wonderful food for him, or bring mangoes from Rajsahi. Whatever you want, you can give to Radhaballabha right now, but do it in the right mood, as a gift, and put the form of Radhaballabha in your mind. And then bow down when you're finished making your offering. Bow down to Radhaballabha and pray that they accept your offering. And then offer a very deep prayer, but keep their form in your mind. Offer the deepest prayer in your mind. Can you do this? You can tell them everything. Keep the form of Radhaballabha in your mind. Then see the form of Gaunitai. Now, try to put yourself in a very bad mood, and then look at Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Devi, and they're smiling. I think it's impossible to be in a bad mood when you see them. But bring them all gifts. Bring tulsi flowers, tulsi leaves, and place them on their lotus feet. So Sarvam Harati Chitto Sto, Sukadeva Goswami says, that if you put, all difficulties will vanish, actually, if you put the form in your mind, of the Lord in your mind. Especially Mriyamanam, when you're about to die. If you can do this, Ante Narayana Smriti, if you can keep the form of the Lord in your mind, like Kaṁsa, even Kaṁsa, who was so envious because he mastered indirectly and inappropriately in one sense, due to his fear, keeping the Lord's form in his mind. Therefore, he achieved such a wonderful destination. So here, okay, pay your obeisances and come back. Okay, you can stay, it's all right. But come back just for a few minutes. And then Sukadev Goswami explains that basically in different ages there were different methods used for keeping the Lord within one's consciousness. In Satya Yuga it was meditation, and then there's fire, and then there's sacrifice, and then there's temple worship, and in Kali Yuga, Kali Tadhari Sankirtanam. And all faults are removed by kirtan, by sankirtan. Because everyone has so many faults in Kali Yuga. And all faults are removed by chanting the holy names of the Lord, because that places the Lord within the mind and the heart. So, we've heard in this series of classes, and also in Mataji's class, about these exalted souls. The Braja Gopis who always focus their mind on Krishna. And then we think, oh, that's wonderful. Maybe we can open up some windows too. Wherever practical, and even some doors perhaps. So we hear about these exalted souls who naturally, spontaneously put their minds on Krishna because they love Krishna. So when there is love, it automatically occurs. But the thought may come to our minds there, up here, and I am here. So I don't have these abilities at all. So it is maybe an interesting katha and a nice pastime to hear, and that's so purifying and a wonderful goal. But can I do anything without joining the Kaṁsa Sampradaya and being against Krishna, which will also focus the mind? But what can I do? So in devotional service, there are two aspects. This is described by Rupa Goswami in Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. First, in relationship to sadhana bhakti, the practices of Krishna consciousness, and then in relationship to bhava bhakti, a perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. These two parts of doing service are called bhava rupa and chesta rupa. Chesta means the endeavor, the activity of devotional service. Everything from worshipping the deity, to cooking, to boys. Just in a little while will give you can run and talk and play and jump and wrestle to your heart's content. But just for a few more minutes, okay? Try your best, okay? Yes. So Chesta Rupa means the activities of our devotional service. Chesta means activity. But then there's Bhava Rupa also. And Bhava Rupa, and this includes chanting, japa, etc. So Bhava Rupa means the mood in which we perform our devotional service. So what tends to happen is that we perform the activity of devotional service, but we don't put emphasis on the mood, the proper mood to perform devotional service in. Especially with services that we do every day, like chanting japa. We'll use that as an example. It's just so easy to think that I've done the activity, I've chanted my rounds, whether it's 2 or 4 or 8 or 16 or 64 or 100 and whatever. It's so easy just to perform the activity, but without focusing on the proper mood of the activity. that it is devotion, that it is an offering to Krishna. And therefore, whether we're sweeping the temple floor or whatever service we're doing, or preaching, or studying, or teaching, or even, amazingly enough, the activities that the gopis were performing, they weren't even oriented towards a temple or deities or preaching. They were just their ordinary household activities. The cooking, and the this and the that, and the smearing and the sprinkling. So whatever one does can be done as an offering to Krishna. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita teaches. Even that, so here are the gopis on the highest level, and the residents of Vrindavan on the highest level. They spontaneously and naturally have Krishna in their center. But then there's the mood that we want to cultivate. And believe me, we do want to cultivate this mood. Otherwise, what happens is we'll be chanting for 1 year, and then immediately, when we first start chanting, there's there may be some relief and happiness that comes, and then it becomes just an ordinary thing that we do every day, just like we have to eat, we have to finish our rounds. But no mood of this is an offering to Krishna, and the sweeping of the floor and the serving of prasadam, no mood of it's an offering to Krishna, and then it's just something that we do because we've been doing it for so long. It's what we do, but it doesn't bring us the satisfaction or the happiness, what to speak of the love of Krishna that we read about as supposed to come as a result of performing devotional service and chanting Hare Krishna. So it doesn't come, and it becomes just something like we do. We do it basically mindlessly. Well, our minds are wandering all over the universe with all the important things in our life that ultimately have no significance at all. And I mean no significance because in 100 years from now, no one probably will even know that we ever existed. So that which we're thinking is so significant from the viewpoint of eternity is completely insignificant, like the passing of an ant. Of course, this isn't the kind of talk that the young boys and girls need to hear, because they need to, organize their lives and move forward in the world and do something in the world. But for adults, this is important to understand this. And yet, on the other hand, if we make an offering to Krishna, it is eternal. The result is eternal, and that means significant. So the insignificant becomes significant. If we can develop some devotion, the bhava rupa, the mood. So there's one. So this Yat Karosi Rasnasri. Who knows that verse? Raise your hand. Or instead of raising your hand, just say it. Yat Karosi Tat Karosi. So here's another level, not the highest level of the residents of Vrindavan and the gopis, but a very, what you're already doing. What you're already doing. Do it to please Krishna. So Krishna allows that karma yoga, or that turns to bhakti yoga. But do something to please Krishna. The great challenge of life is to get out of the center, make the imagination, the illusion that I'm central, that I'm the center of existence, that I'm important. That I'm the center, not only important, I'm most important. This is what it means. This is actually what it means to have a false ego. Soon as we, Krishna, Bhule Se Jiva, Anadi Bahimuk, soon as we turn our back on Krishna, we immediately get a false identity because Jivera Surupa, Krishna Nityadas, we are all servants of Krishna. So as soon as we turn our back on that relationship, immediately, because we're individuals, we need a false sense of who we are. Separate from Krishna, illusory, but feels like it. So the great challenge of life is when we have a false ego, is at least do something without me in the center. Do something to please Krishna. Something. Even do what you're already doing to please Krishna. So what's the loss in that? But do it. We have to end this selfish consciousness. We don't have to. I don't mean have to in the sense of we don't have a choice. But it's really in our interest if we give up this small-minded selfishness that accompanies our existence in the material world, that is our existence in the material world. This complete selfish existence, because as one very now departed senior Bengali devotee in Vrindavan used to say, I'm the worst kind of fish, a selfish, and we're all guilty of this one. Because it means to have a false ego, means to be a selfish. So do something for Krishna. Let me chant one round, one mantra for Krishna, to put him in the center. Let me do something for Krishna. Let me cook one offering for Krishna, something. I've worked hard and I have this bit of money. For Krishna's pleasure, instead of everything is me, 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 and mine, and it's animal consciousness. And it's not satisfying. And on the other hand, just by putting Krishna in the center, or even, and not only that, even by thinking of Krishna, it's just putting the form of Krishna in my mind. It's of value, it's of great value. Now there's a philosophical truth in this that comes out in the prayers of the personified Vedas, which no one has ever read, what to speak of understood, in the 87th chapter of the 10th canto. But this point is brought out that I have a material mind and material tongue. And everything, this is what I have, this is what I am. How could the material mind meditate on spiritual truth? When I'm seeing the deities, when I'm seeing Radhaballabha, am I actually seeing Radhaballabha? Can my with material concepts, I say that they're wearing what color? Did anyone see Radhaballabha today? Did anyone? Huh? Yes. What color were they wearing?
Black color.
Okay. So I have a concept of black in my mind. So I'm seeing Radhaballabha and they're actually wearing black. That color based on my concept of my material mind. Can I see spiritual truth with my material mind? Spiritual truth, Krishna is unlimitedly beautiful. What is unlimitedly beautiful like? Can we conceive of that with the material mind? No. So is there any value in our meditating on Krishna? So that's the question that's asked. How can the material mind reach or the tongue vibrate spiritual truth even? Or even chanting. Can my material tongue, which is an ugly old thing if you think about it, can it vibrate the spiritual sound vibration of Krishna's holy name? And the answer is not unless Krishna it comes there, but is there any value in doing it in our material, imperfect way, meditating on the Lord, chanting the holy name? And the answer is yes. And the reason why it's valuable is Krishna is so kind. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur answers this question that even if we're meditating on the Lord and we feel happiness meditating on Radhaballabha, even though we're not actually meditating on transcendental reality when we're meditating on Him, and still we feel happiness, we still feel so much happiness by it, and it's not actually Krishna, but Krishna has a different mood, and one that's filled with compassion and sees the good, Bhavagrahi, Janardana. His mood is, oh, my devotee is meditating on me. And he blesses them. So that huge gap between our ability and Krishna's, and Krishna, the unlimited supreme person, transcendent reality, the absolute truth, is crossed by Krishna's mercy. This is the meaning also of the Damodar pastime. This is the meaning of why Mahaprabhu so much recommended the chanting of Krishna's names, because Chaito Dharpana Madhurya purifies the heart by Krishna's mercy. So still, as in the Damodar pastime, there's two things, the Parishrama and the Kripa Shakti, the endeavor by the devotee, the work, the endeavor by the devotee, and the mercy of Krishna. So if we do our part, because like I see so many times people come to me, and even me, and they say, please give me your blessings. And now I have a nasty line that I say. I don't really say it to their face. I say, you think I'm a blessing ATM or something? Because the giving of the blessings, even though I don't have any capacity to bless anyone, but that's the job of the sadhu, the actual sadhu. But that's not your job. Your job, your part is to please and do service. And then his job, naturally, because he's soft-hearted and kind, is to give blessings. So you tell him to give blessings. And then he'll say, you should do service. Instead of you should do service, and he knows what his job is already. I've just frightened everyone to... Because everyone is guilty of this. Because we want. But what's our part? Our part is to try to put Krishna in our consciousness, become, even in a small way, to become Krishna conscious, even in a small way, according to our ability, to put form Krishna's names within our consciousness, and try to do it with a little bit of bhava, with a little bit of mood of, this is an offering to you. And then there's stages above that. Of course there are stages above doing what I want to do for Krishna. But that's still a wonderful stage. And above that is a more bhakti stage, patram pushpam palam toyam. And Krishna says, and look at what a humble request he's making. Just give me a little fruit, one piece of fruit, patram, singular, a leaf, a tulsi leaf, a little water, and bhaktya paritam. If you do these things with devotion, I will accept it. I will take it, I will eat it. Your food, the offerings that you're making. So he's walking so close to us, making himself so available in the holy names. And we should make our little bit of endeavor to put some consciousness into our offering, some bhakti into our offering. And then the question comes, what do you do when you realize you have no bhakti? That you're completely selfish. well then what do? Then at least we can become a little humble and say to Krishna, unless you're kind to me, what hope do I have? Unless you're kind to me, what hope do I have? And Krishna consciousness is such a, you know what, you've heard the phrase counterintuitive? It's a peculiar English expression, so it may not filter into everyone's vocabulary. It means against what you would think. So it's counterintuitive. It's not like when you advance, you start thinking, I'm getting closer to Krishna. It's exactly the opposite. You see that you become more humble, and you see the distance appears even more great and greater because you become somehow or another amazingly conscious of all the inconsistencies in the heart. It's the natural. I used to wonder about this. Why is it that the great devotees, they're so humble? What are they saying? Are they just saying it for our benefit? You know, I'm so low, I'm this, I'm that. Do they just talk like that for our benefit? No. They're experiencing it. Feeling so fallen and so insignificant and useless and contaminated. But what is it they're experiencing? Because they're pure. And the answer is, as far as I understand, is that when we are actually confronted with Krishna, as great devotees are in the presence of Krishna, it is the natural consciousness, unless one is on the Braja level, to feel tiny and insignificant, and one is painfully aware of how tiny and insignificant and unfortunate one is. And the glory of that and the strength of being a truly humble sadhu, is that it puts you in a position where you really know that you need mercy. And as soon as you really know you need mercy, Krishna's mercy is there. But now I could do this part, Krishna. Don't worry. If I really need you, maybe I'll call for you. Maybe. Just don't worry about it. You just wait there and we'll call you when we need you. But the great devotees are always feeling in need of Krishna's mercy. So we try our best on whatever level we can. We hear about Krishna, we hear about his qualities, his name, his form. We practice Krishna consciousness according to the prescribed methods, following the principles. And and we try to somehow or another make some offering to Krishna. Like someone like Srila Prabhupada he had such a big offering to make. Such a big, huge offering to make. And we may be like the little squirrel, what do they call it? Gilhari, with Lord Ramachandra, who just can do this little teeny service like that. And Lord Ram accepted. Not only accepted, but appreciated. When Ajamil is calling out the name of Narayan, thinking about his son, Krishna is thinking, he's appreciating. Oh, it's my duty to give him protection. He's calling out my name, calling for me. Just like, all the boys have to just listen for a second. No, everyone in this room whose name is Krishna. Right? Krishna. Now, you ready? Now, everyone think of Ballava, but call out Krishna. Krishna. Now, all of you whose name is Krishna, Do you feel something that, a little bit that they're calling you? No. Well, but it's natural if someone, is there two people in this room with the same name other than Krishna? See, we really are individuals here. No, not even two people with the same name? Where? Where's another Shamasundar? Oh yeah, there's Shamasundar Krishna. Okay, now I'm going to call Shamasundar, okay? Shamasundar, I'm so happy to see you. Shamasundar. Now, I'm calling him, but do you feel something? Yes, okay, you know I'm talking to him, but do you feel something? No. We need another example. Krishna doesn't feel anything, Shamasundar doesn't feel anything. Okay, maybe we change the example, it's probably easier. But the idea is that Krishna, when you call, even if you're calling Narayan someone else, Krishna hears that. Something is pulled to him because it's his name too. So if we can just try to do something for Krishna, he's very kind. Try to do something in the mood of, let me do this not for myself, for my pleasure. Let me do something for Krishna's pleasure. Good plan, yes? Okay, there's just a little bit more and then we shall end. But don't worry, I'm not going to let you out early. I'll ask if there's any questions. I know you were all afraid because you've only been sitting an hour and a half or 2 hours. So Krishna killed Kaṁsa, and Kaṁsa had, you know how many younger brothers he had? 8. Anyone know any of their names? I only know one, Kanka. Yeah. So all the brothers who had a similar mood to Kaṁsa, they went running towards Krishna to kill him. And Krishna killed them all. And then kettle drums, or mridangas particularly. Kettle drums sounded in the sky as the devatas rained down flowers, chanting the glories of Krishna, and the wives of the demigods sang Krishna's praise. And thus the pastime at this point is over. At least one kettle drum beat. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. You're so patient. You're so patient. Despite the fact that it's hot, despite the fact I had a completely different plan to break it up every 15 minutes and let you breathe and do something that will wake you up and everything. You're all so patient and listen so carefully. And thank you so much. And does anyone have any questions? Raise your hand if you have a question. If it's about the topic that we were talking about, that would be marvelous. Yes, you raised your hand. Yes. You have it on your mobile phone. After I just criticized mobile phones so much, but you're using it in Krishna's service. And Krishna, where did you get that hat? Huh? Huh? Okay. Does your head need to be warmer? Oh, you can put it on. I just thought it was so wonderful. Whose question is this? Yes. What's your question?
So,
Well, wait, do we have another microphone so we can actually hear the question?
when Krishna appeared in the arena, we saw that everyone saw Krishna differently based
Yes.
on their bhav, mood. At the same time, Krishna killed Kaṁsa, very
Yes.
kind of very badly, in the sense it's gruesome death for him. So how does this killing cultivate that mood eventually? Like from this, Kaṁsa had that mood, and Krishna on the top is killing him.
Yes.
So how this transformation happens from this mood to the mood of his devotees? Like,
Okay. First I thought I understood the question, then I lost it. So how did the transformation in Kaṁsa occur?
like eventually it will occur to Kaṁsa.
But Kaṁsa, because he was in touch with Krishna personally and personally was killed by Krishna, he got some special mercy. One reason is because he was thinking about Krishna when he passed from this world. So were you talking about how Kamsa's mood changed, or what?
Yeah.
Or,
Sorry, maybe I'm not clearing in explanation or question. Like we heard that he got the liberation, he got the spiritual.
yes, yes.
So then, at the same time, we hear that the devotees, they have a different feelings for Krishna. It's
Yes,
more intimate.
very positive.
Yes. So then, how this transformation
From who? This
Kaṁsa.
transformation
for Kaṁsa?
from to a devotional one?
Yeah,
It was
to-
just special mercy. He got some special mercy by Krishna. In Krishna's presence, he gave him special mercy. But so even Krishna's killing someone, which you said would be a gruesome thing, and this is the question that comes in the first chapter of the 7th canto. It seems like Krishna was favorable to some and unfavorable to his enemies. But even when Krishna appears to be unfavorable, like killing seems gruesome and unfavorable, he's giving him the greatest blessing. So whatever Krishna does, this is the meaning of him being Param Satyam, the absolute truth. Whatever he does causes good. Even if it's killing, which you would say is terrible, it benefited Kaṁsa so much. Okay. Anyone else have any question? Raise your hand and I'll start reading. Yeah.
You described how Nanda Maharaj and the saintly persons and Vasudeva were furious with Kaṁsa
Yes.
when the wrestling match were going on.
Yes.
But given the intense love that these devotees have, like for example, how could Nanda Maharaj just sit in his seat and watch the wrestling match go on?
Well, ultimately, it's all taking place by the Leela Shakti of the Lord, by the Krishna's arrangement, so Krishna could be glorified. You see it in different instances when Krishna was being held in the grip of Kaliya, then Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they immediately wanted to go into the water to protect Krishna. But here, and Balaram stopped them, so it's just to show the glory of Krishna that it happened, and that's the pastime unfolded in its own wonderful way. And there's also a technical word called denouement, which you don't even know. But it means, it's a dramatic word used in writing, is that when there's a buildup of that kind of anxiety, and then when the hero comes out in a glorious, happy way, there's such a happiness which includes relief. So the Leela Shakti organized it in such a way that the pastime would bring the most happiness for the devotees. And also, in the extreme anxiety of Nanda and Yashoda, etc., because it's centered on Krishna, they also causes great ecstasy for them. So the Leela Shakti knows best, the pastime potency of Krishna knows best. Okay, here's first question about, we were talking about Bhava Rupa and Sesta Rupa. how our activities like chanting become just on a mechanical level. Well, this Mahaprabhu answers, Durdaiva Midri Samihan, unfortunateness, misfortune. And this misfortune, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is caused by offenses against the holy name. And then, so we don't get any result of devotional service done on Chesta Rupa platform. No, we do get a result of devotional service, a very favorable result, but we can do a little bit better. So we try to bring our consciousness, our minds into because we're doing devotional service, so why not make it devotional service instead of just service? So it's not that there's no result, but we want to, at some point, want to make it devotional, more devotional. It just means that it will be quicker, our path to love for Krishna. So that's sort of, we could say, a next stage. And if one just chants and chants, or thinks of the Lord and just chants, even though one may not have devotion, gradually devotion will come. The chanting removes all the impurities, all the offenses, all the lack of devotion, everything. And the last part of the question, it is mentioned even unconscious chanting gives ultimate benefit. Yes. Yeah, same point. So it gives ultimate benefit, but dire, just a little bit gradually. Yeah, practically speaking, before you can chant with devotion, you have to go through chant without devotion, just by chanting, and then because the power of chanting helps uncover the devotion. Cheto Darpanam Arjunam. Hope this is clear, but because there's no name, I can't ask if it's clear. Oh, this is a book, not a question and a book. Okay. There's two. We'll start with the first one. This is signed by a friend. You stated Krishna doesn't accept Kaṁsa's clothes because the clothes are of demonic Kaṁsa, impure. Not exactly, but okay. But then why accept the tusk of the Kuvalaya Pita as the weapon, as tusks were of the demon Kuvalaya Pita? Oh, that's from Baba. Okay. The idea is that he didn't want to accept Kaṁsa's remnants, and this is more there's you could say technical tattva, and then there's bhava. So the devotees, they're not happy to see, they'll be very unhappy to see Krishna wearing Kaṁsa's remnants. Just like Akrura was so happy that Kaṁsa sent him in a new chariot to pick up Krishna, because he wouldn't want Krishna to have to ride in a chariot that was already used by Kaṁsa. So it is like a mood of the devotees, because the devotees want to offer Krishna the best of things. So the tusks of the elephant they weren't used by Kaṁsa or by Kuvalaya Pita like that. They're his tusks, and to use them as a weapon is just so dramatically wonderful. Oh, there was one part of it that I forgot to mention, that after Krishna was challenged by Chanura, he and Balaram at that time were holding the tusks on their shoulders. So right in front, you stayed. Thank you, both of you. All the other boys escaped. Not all. But Krishna, after talking to Chanura, he and Balaram both, they took the tusks off of their shoulders and then walked right in front of Kaṁsa, where he was sitting up on the dais, and drove them into the ground on either side. And Kaṁsa felt that as like the spears entering his heart. I mean, in one sense, that answers that question, because, Krishna is so expert at doing things. And yet, if Kaṁsa would have just said, I think, Krishna, it's clear to me now that you're much more strong than I am, and I'm going to lose, and you've killed the rest, if you killed the elephant, you broke the bow, okay, Krishna, I surrender to you. Then Krishna would have accepted it. But Kaṁsa was such a determined demon. This comes out very much also in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam about Hiranyakashipu. He was a determined demon. Kaṁsa would even say, now the cause of my death is before me. He'd say things like that. But he was a determined demon. There's a second question here. Nanda Maharaj didn't see Krishna as the Supreme Lord, as covered by Yogamaya. Then why didn't Nanda Maharaj stop Krishna from fighting Kuvalayapita? He was already in the arena. Krishna sent Nanda Maharaj into the arena first, or the Leela potency. So he didn't actually see Krishna. There was no concern for his son. This is the Leela Shakti at work, that Nanda Maharaj didn't jump out. And Mother Yashoda didn't jump out because she wasn't there. No one would have been able to stop her from going out and chastising the wrestlers. So, what are you doing? Picking up a stick and, if you don't get out of here, I will. And what could they do? Okay, another question. Hope my rapid answers are okay. Most of the time I have negative character. I have negative characters. The negative characters are eternal associates of the Supreme Lord Krishna, or that Krishna mercifully gives liberation to everyone he kills. In the above context, what should a devotee be trying to learn from the pastimes? Well, this pastime I tried to make 3 points, especially. Hopefully, Krishna willing, I made more than that. But in the first one, there was the point. Does anyone remember what the point of the first class was? There was a point right at the end, and it had to do with everyone will see Krishna in different ways. But who is Krishna and how to actually see him? So there was a philosophical point to be made. And the second class, how absorbed the residents of Vrindavan were. And this is what is so glorious, how absorbed they were in thoughts of Krishna, how especially the gopis, even when they were doing ordinary activities, because they had love for Krishna. And in this third class, we wanted to make this point also, aside from the wonderful Leela. Maybe if you could just not have your back in that direction. So don't apologize to me, you are facing me, it's them. Yeah, so we made our point about Chastarupa and Bhavarupa and tried to put a little devotion into our service, a little more into our chanting in our service. Another question, isn't it easier to see an actual soldier as a hero rather than him in a mock drill as opposed to him in real action? In other words, the demons were all eternal associates of Krishna. No, that's not true, that the demons were all eternal associates of Krishna. But these two, Jai Vijay, meaning Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, and Kumbhakarna, and only these two were eternal associates of Krishna. But one time someone asked me, I was telling one pastime, and someone said, we already know the end, that Krishna is going to win. So there's no fun. And I replied that you're reading too fast. You should slow down and look at the details. of how Krishna does things. He does things in such a heroic, dramatic, graceful, wonderful way. He's the supreme hero. And appreciate the wonderful pastimes of Krishna from that point of view. Yes, he always wins. And everyone who opposes Krishna always loses. But just watch how this supreme person acts. It is so wonderful. It is so charming. Another part of the question, why is Krishna awarding the most hateful of his enemies liberation? Does this mean one or another extreme has to get Krishna's attention? You either have to be so pure and so bad, either one extreme. And I tried to answer that question before it was asked, is that no, Krishna is so kind that even if you are imperfect in your meditation and your offering, still he puts his attention on you. Nama viharanan Vishnu yatatas visya mati. That Ajamil is such an example, that he was performing his chanting in not a very Krishna conscious way, but it still attracted Krishna's attention. That's Krishna's mercy. I'm not sure I'm answering these questions properly, but it's good that they're being asked. How can we change our mood of chanting mechanically? And what is our hope if our mind is still materially inclined? This is my own personal question. I think I wrote it. And why did Krishna kill the washerman? That's another question that I had for a long time. But now I found the answer to that one. So what to do when our chanting isn't of a high quality? And first of all, understand what the problem is lack of depth and lack of sincerity. So then we become humble. That's what we can do. We can become humble. Look at my situation. Prabhu has made it so easy to approach him through the holy names, and I have no attraction for it. I'm so unfortunate. So we become humble. And that's the message of the third verse, Trinadapi Sunicheda, of Shikshastakam. It's not that when you realize, see, if you're not conscious, you'll think you're doing wonderfully. And you are doing wonderfully on one level. But when you become conscious of the quality of your activities, then you become humble, not proud, which is the step to becoming advanced. And about the washerman, why did Krishna kill the washerman? I always thought when Krishna approached him, he spoke very, very gently. And the washerman responded in a very harsh way. But still I thought that Krishna's reaction was very extreme. He killed him, chopped off his head. Of course, when Krishna does something, it is perfect and wonderful. And the washerman actually had a demonic mentality, a terrible mentality. But what caused Krishna to kill him, explains, I think it was Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but he was with Balaram. And the washerman said, "You fools," he used the word balisha, and he used the plural. "You boys, you are so foolish, you and Balaram." He used the plural. He insulted Balaram, trying to take things that are the king's. Kaṁsa had just stolen the whole kingdom, and he's accusing, and his washerman, or Dobi, a washerman, not a very prominent person in society, is accusing Krishna of trying to take things that belong to the king, who is the biggest thief, stealing the whole kingdom. And then he said, you boys are such fools, you and Balaram are such fools, and don't insult Balaram in front of Krishna. That's all the advice I have for you. Don't do it. Because you can insult Krishna and he'll say, okay, but don't insult Balaram in front of Krishna. Okay, and the last question is, and out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe we have time, 6, another one I won't be able to answer. Pastime mention of Kuvalaya Pita, Chanur and Mastika in Garga Samhita, how did they come about? Well, Kaṁsa went and challenged them. There are details that I don't remember all of them. Kaṁsa went and challenged them one by one, and except for Kuvalaya Pita, he just took him and threw him far away. And his master, he was coming and destroying where Kaṁsa was, and Kaṁsa just threw him far away. And his master, wanting to make, I think it was Jarasandha, wanting to please Kaṁsa, gave him Kuvalaya Pita, who was an angry old monster of an elephant. The only thing between a devotee and Krishna is his mind. Then why does Krishna give mind as an energy to the jiva, which is so difficult to control? This is another person who thinks like me. It's all Krishna's fault. I didn't do anything. I'm such a nice person. I'm all innocent. I never do anything wrong. It's all his fault, the Supreme Lord. A parent wouldn't give a knife to their kids. Oh, now it's really getting heavy. Wow. See, one thing is it's different when you look at everything from the point of view of Krishna looks at things from the point of view of eternity. From eternity. So whoever wrote this probably has a plan and put in a recommendation to Krishna, a better way that he should organize material existence. The mind is currently hurting devotees. Why doesn't Krishna help to take control of the mind? Okay, so Krishna does help, but we have to do our part. And what is our part? Is we should become humble, and we should try to use whatever we have in Krishna's service. And we should, there's some compassion in the asker of this question, that he doesn't like to see the devotees being hurt by their minds. So that's quite wonderful. But it's not that Krishna gives a nasty mind to everyone. Some people he gives quite nice minds that are sattva, that cultivate the mode of goodness, because sattvam sanjayate jnanam, that when the mind is in goodness, then it is peaceful, it is happy, and it, basically speaking, in a simple way, doesn't give trouble. So the question could be turned around, in spite of knowing this, why do I cultivate the mode of passion and do things that cause me trouble and cause my mind trouble? And why do I do things in the mode of ignorance that cause me trouble and my mind trouble? And then ultimately cause others trouble. Why am I my own worst enemy? So if we approach Krishna in a humble mood, and we are willing to take the medicine, and I may have sounded a little bit critical about the person who asked this question, but I also ask questions like that, and I also secretly think like that. Why doesn't Krishna do this, and why doesn't Krishna do that? I won't express it out loud because then you'll all know what it's like inside. But the point is that we should become humble and not think it's like Yeah, it's like a child thinking, why are my parents telling me I shouldn't play computer games all day long? Don't they know that it's so good for me? But the child really can't understand what the consciousness of the parent is like and how much love is behind that. So from the naivete, and you could say foolishness of the child or the ignorance of a child, he's imagining one thing or another. But a devotee accepts, by definition, that everything that Krishna does is good. And that we shouldn't try to reorganize Krishna, but use that same energy and that same tendency to reorganize ourselves and improve ourselves. Yeah, that's how I would answer that question. And with the remaining 2 minutes, we will pick this one. How to stay in Krishna's thoughts after a wonderful retreat like this when I go back to my day-to-day life? It's also my question. It's so much easier when you're giving classes. So that's one thing you can all do. We face this question all the time at the Govardhan retreats. Because especially, but not only, but when you're in Govardhan, you're in this atmosphere that is so rarefied. It has such a sweetness to it. There's so much support. Do any of you swim regularly? Okay. Do you swim in the pool or the ocean? The pool. Do you swim in the ocean sometimes? Okay. When you swim in the ocean, because the ocean is full of salt water, and the salt water makes it easier to swim. Did you know that? And in the pool, there's lots of things in the water, but you have to work harder just to stay afloat, but with the salt there. So in Vrindavan, in Mayapur and Puri, the atmosphere is so special. It's like swimming in salt water, but even more, where it just supports Krishna consciousness so much. So the devotees invariably will ask if we don't answer it for them. What do you do next when you leave this atmosphere, which is full of Krishna Katha? There's nothing else anyone is doing, practically speaking, except hearing about Krishna and chanting. Then what do you do when you leave? And it's so sad in Vrindavan, is that you watch. I watch myself and others. They think from now on, when you're in the atmosphere, from now on, I'm going to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. I'm going to chant all the time. And by the time you get to the Delhi airport, it's like 99% gone already. And that's even before you go through security. So what to do? So one of the answers that we give is there's 2 parts. Maybe Jagtini Mataji could add something if she likes. 2 parts. One is, don't expect to take it all with you. But think of it in terms of, I got a little bit of a blessing, some fortune. And that fortune that I got is mine forever. That I may not be able to keep as Krishna conscious thinking of Krishna, but I can remember that one time I was doing that, and it was so much more pleasant than my usual consciousness. And so that's a gift. It's Radha Ballabha's mercy and the devotees who take so much trouble to keep this place so nice, and all of you who've taken the trouble to come here. It's a gift. And the second part of the answer is the recordings. Listen to the recordings. And the listening to the recordings and the leaving, we call that Govardhan Retreat Part 2. So, try pray to Radha Ballabha to help you, pray to Gaunitai to help you, try to make your rounds better, try to serve the devotees. even when taking prasadam, think this is prasadam instead of food. And usually this type of sincerity lasts until the prasadam begins. Soon as, or even until you walk out the door. Soon as it's, I've watched this even myself, soon as we walk out the door, so you got a gift, we got a gift, I got a gift, Mataji got a gift. Radharaman, by our participation in this way, and because of your kindness, we all were able to be more Krishna conscious. Thank you so much. And Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sri Gauratai ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Ballava ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Bhava. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai. You're always so patient. I'm amazed. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.